Hello and welcome back, beautiful souls. So, this video is Return of the Titans, and it's an energy that I feel like I've been picking up on for a while, but then Spirit just put something right in my face that was like, yeah, this is definitely it. And especially with like five major planets in retrograde. Well, four, and then Mercury is in the process of going retrograde. So in about a week and a half, we will have five planets together. And that's like Hierophant energy right there. You know what I mean? But it was funny because the other day I was asking Spirit for clarity and thinking about both the collective and my individual stuff going on. And I pulled up to this McDonald's, and there was like I pulled up like I improperly parked, but I was only going to sit there for just a moment and look at my delivery app and figure things out with that. And I looked to my left, which is funny because I do believe the left hand is the receiving hand, the right hand is the giving hand. And what did I see? A set of sockets, small sockets too. And what made me really laugh the most when I saw them was they say Titan. I don't know if you can see it on there. This camera's not especially good. I'll try to put a picture on there, but that's the brand. They are Titan sockets. And they're also specialty sockets. Like, I don't know, those of you that have ever worked on vehicles, like these, they're not your typical sockets. They're star sockets. And that means that they're probably meant for working on specialty Hondas, possibly Mercedes, Volvos, things like that. But it's a specialty tool, right? On top of that, there's 7 of them there, and they're on a pretty little rack. When I picked them up, one was off, the last one on there. So there was 6 on the rack and 1 on the ground. So we've got 3 numbers, 1, 6, and 7, right? What do we got there? The Magician, the Lovers, and the Chariot, right? And it really made me stop and think about, there was some energies. I think it was in 2020, and it was like Clash of the Titans, right? And then there's some definite energies in 2022, 2021, 2022, beginning that was, again, more of this Clash of the Titans energy. But this really feels like Return of the Titans, and it's not necessarily like a clashing energy per se. It feels much more like, I mean, we had extra retrogrades going on for the last like 45 months. We had a lot of energy that took us back to dealing with things that were like karmic cycles that went anywhere from 19 to 23 years, things like that, and, brought us into places where we could make new decisions and do stuff like that. But there was also kind of this sense of like being without our deities to a degree, like being without our communities, being without our twin flames, being in this separation from what we normally would expect to happen, like even economically, politically, all these things. We've been separated, or at least felt separated, because we're not really ever separate, but you know what I mean? Like it felt like a separation. And it now feels like a return of the old gods, a return of the gods and goddesses, a return of benevolent ancestors, a return of all these things. And I definitely feel like, that chariot energy of like that victorious thing. And so I decided to pull some cards and like, okay, all right, spirit, all right, guides, like, what is it that I could tell the collective, that might resonate with some of them and help them figure out what they want to do, get the clarity that they need, that you need, right? So first, I got Libra card. And it reminded me so much. Actually, it reminds me of a child. But Libra is balance. Libra is justice. Libra is the scales. Libra is truth. Libra is often associated with like firefighters and judges and police officers and what is it? Peaceful ralliers and things like that. In its unevolved energy, it can go the other way too. It can, be dictatorship and things like that. But this is upright. It really feels like it's like a balancing of the scales, right? And Libra very much is connected to karma. Now, Saturn typically rules karma, not Venus, and this is Venusian energy. So it has a lot of times to do with seventh house, love, intimacy, romance, things of that nature, family. But it still has to deal with karma. And it's definitely like, okay, like it kind of feels like, whatever you have been doing, I'm going to say for the last at least 3 to 5 years, but especially over the last like 12 months, is really going to come into play now. You know, the seeds that you have planted, the things that you have sowed and harvested, the things you've been working on, right? And there might be a bit of a delay because of Mercury retrograde, and then we've got all these other major titans that are also in retrograde. So it might feel like you're not getting there, but hold your focus. Hold your focus. Just because it's not there, you should have learned this by now, especially you've been watching my channel for a while. Hold your focus. Just because it's not there in the 3D yet does not mean it's not coming, does not mean it's not manifesting. It does not mean that you don't deserve it or anything like that. It just means there's something else to learn along the way. You know, don't ask why me or why is this happening to me. Ask, what can I learn from this experience? How can I learn from this experience and alchemize this energy to lead me in the direction that I've been going towards or that I want to go in, you know? Okay, and then the next card, interestingly enough, Four of Wands, right? And it's been a little while since I pulled from my regular Rider-Waite deck because I've been using my Wonderland Tarot deck. But I like this. This is, I mean, this can be the marriage card, but this really feels like it fits in with the energy of, you know, 7 sockets. And, you know, it's interesting. I was just getting a bit of a, and weirdly enough, I'm looking at, I think it's a flagpole, but it looks like a lever. But sockets, like if you think about like what do you do with sockets, right? Typically you use them to remove and or add, you know, or place a bolt on, you know, or to remove a nut and a bolt. It's to secure something or to remove the security of something. Often these are, you know, I often associate them with working on a car, but that's not the only time that you might use them. I do feel like that is relevant though, like what is the energy of this, right? And it came in with that Four of Wands. Like it feels like Spirit saying like in some ways the nuts and bolts that we're holding together karmic situations that are not either not intended to move forward or were in there they were supposed to have by free will been ended already. The nuts and bolts of those situations are being removed, or you're being given the tools to do so should you choose to. And then also the same thing too, like if you've been needing resources or you've been needing, you know, so car repair, housing, assistance with communication, court stuff, especially with that Libra card, like you're being given the tools that you need to get the job done, to do the repair, to do the thing, like, you know. And especially with wands in here, you know, communication, there could be 4 people that, you know, you may need to communicate with, or it could be that I'm getting the sense for some people there's a timeline that there was 2 couples that were kind of keeping each other going, in a sense, like they were keeping each other in karmic situations. And those two, you know, those 2 couples were kind of creating like the facade, you know, the show of a 4 of Wands with each other, but they're really not. And it's falling apart. And then on the other end, I feel like there is like 4 significant events that you might watch out for. They may not be big ones. So 4 of Wands is not a really huge card, but like 4 significant victories, I want to say, because typically this is celebration of a victory. It also has to do with housing and you know that one's castle or casa, right? And family and things of that nature. I'm really feeling called to the red in this card too. So like mama stuff, root chakra stuff, things like that. And there's this interesting little archway over here. I think I can only see 2 arches in it, but it looks like it's supposed to have 3, just a third one. It's kind of in a garden area. And it almost kind of looks like a tent too, like if I look at it a certain way. So these might be elements that are relatable to your story. And grapes, definitely grapes are involved with it, you know, that sweetness of life. Also kind of a connection with a Dicinius too. So like you might have a twin flame that is, you know, they might drink a lot, or that may have been something that has kept them in karmic situations and or kept you guys separated, and or you might be dealing with something like that. We'll see. I feel like there's more to that, but I'm really just not sure. Let's say there's something to do with someone like, I want to say, like, if you took a window and then you took some like dishwashing liquid and you added it to some water and you like sprayed down the window with it, but you didn't clean it up, like you let it dry like that so that you couldn't quite see a clear image out of it. It feels like somebody's been kind of doing that. So that, like, it looks like you can look through the window and it looks like you can see things, but it's there. And you know what's funny is, like, I feel like this is one of those where like cleansings are coming in, especially with this return of the Titan energy. Like spirits are coming in and cleansing situations so that you can really see, you can see clarity, especially with Libra there, like truth is coming in. But it's almost like one of those, like some karmics thought that they could like soap the windows so that the people that they were triggering, it could be your DM or it could be DF, could be you, could be others. Like they thought if they soaped the windows that it wouldn't be very obvious that it wasn't a clear image. It would be just enough to be able to manipulate and control the situation. But now it's almost like, Spirit's going to make it rain and it's going to wash off the windows, or Spirit's going to have someone like come in and not think about it and just like wipe down the windows, or maybe somebody sees that the windows are soapy and they're like, oh well, that's crazy, and like they just wash it off, like it's easily washable with water, right? I feel like that's also a message for some of you too, though, that might feel like you've been either trapped in or entangled in with some sort of magic or spell work or things like that, to where it's not as hard as you think to cleanse yourself of that. Think of it as just dried soapy water on the window. All you have to do is put the intention into cleaning it up and having it be clear, having yourself be clear, things like that, and it will be, right? Um, the other card I got, decided to pull from my Divine Circus Oracle. It's number 4, Tiger Angel. And I actually had to look up the meaning of this one. I do like to just go intuitively off cards, but this one was very particular. And I was like, there's something about the written meaning of this card. And it's one, as many times as I've used the deck, I've never pulled it, right? And first off the bat, I mean, look at it, right? Like, it's not a lion, but that reminds me of the Strength card, right? And I love that it's the 4th card because that reminds me of the Emperor card. But a lot of this card, it's about like knowing that doing the right thing is important, even if it's not popular, even if you're the only one who's doing it. It's about having a generous heart. And it's also about the ability to, what did they say it? Like the ability or skill of invisible influence. And it talked about, like, rather than worrying about like telling people what to do or controlling situations or anything like that, like use your mind space, use that connection to the vortex and imagine what you want to happen, and that will be much more powerful at this time during this return of the Titans energy than almost anything else you could do. And I'm not saying, like, if you're in a situation where you do need to communicate things, like that, necessarily drop that ball, but spend much more time in a prayerful space, in a meditative space, in a mindful space. And whether it's something about you or something that, you need a counterpart to do, or something that you just want to happen, things like that, imagine it. Imagine what you want. Like, even if just for 5 minutes a day, heck, even just 30 seconds a day, start with what you want. Release what you feel is the reality of things and focus on what you want to see happen, right? Yeah, try that. It's very interesting too. Like, she's doing this thing where she's like blowing. I don't know if you can see it. And she's got like this little, it's like a little circle of magic that's coming out from it, right? And cats may be significant, especially big cats, but in your life it might be a mini tiger, right? A small cat of some kind. And I love that, like, this tiger is like up and it's like, it's not only just cuddling with her, but like if you look at it, it looks like it feels completely safe there, right? And she's got it there, she's cradling it, she's hugging it, and she's just gently blowing, right? Gently blowing. It reminds me of something that I learned a while back that I taught my kids, to help them self-soothe and calm down. And it's from a meditation thing. Is when you're getting into a meditative state, a lot of it's about breathing, and you want to breathe in like you're smelling a rose very deeply, and you want to blow out like you're blowing on a candle flame, but you're not trying to blow it out. You're just trying to make it dance. It's about learning to control your breath, right? Um, and it feels like that's a lot of like what she's doing, but it's also part of the message is like learn that self-discipline, learn that self-control to be able to be in that mind space of where you want to be, and the rest of the universe will come together to be in that space with you. The more that you are there in that space, the more that the universe will come together and make that happen, right? And I feel like it's also important to say, like, plant the seeds now that you want to have, come out in the future, just like you probably already done. But if you haven't, like, get to that and recognize that it takes a little while for a seed to germinate and pop out of the soil and do things like that. And you can also replant something that maybe you tried planting before, but it didn't get the right water or the right nutrients, or you were too busy over here, or over there, too distracted, whatever thing. Do it again, because guess what? You learned things in that first planting to harvest season, didn't you? So it's not a failure, it's a learning opportunity, it's a growth opportunity, right? All right, y'all. If any of you would like a personal reading about this energy or about anything else, you can reach me at wickedlydivinefeminine@gmail.com, and I would love to connect with you. Thanks so much. See you in the next video.